Iko Nini. So jana ilikuwa a very eventful day in Kenya politics, and how did the day end? The day ended with Rigathi Gachagua akisema kitu fulani ile nilikuwa like amesema okay. Wacha tucheki kile Rigathi Gachagua aliandika on Twitter. Ilikuwa ni Mr. Githenji. What is your obsession with attacking children in the Church of Christ? In 2007, 2008, you banned Kikuyu children and wanawake in Kiambaa church. Then akaendelea, the other day as deputy president you tear-gassed innocent pupils around Langata Road when they were defending their land. Today you sent police and goons to attack children in Kariobangi PCA church. Is it a ritual or what is it? So kwa unashindwa nini ili happen? Jana kuna vile Gachagua alikuwa ameishia maside za Kariobangi North. Walikuwa na celebrate the fact that kuna MCA alibaki ameshinda from DCP in what was being considered an ODM stronghold. So alibaki ameenda kwa church. Alafu in the process of course kakabaki kamenuka. And as you hear him talking about kids, I remember nikicheki footage. Kulikuwa na hii footage ile, it's somehow sad. Wacha tucheki footage alafu we will rewind ama we will forward to know how we got here. So kulikuwa na hii footage ya watu hii. Yeah, saa to alikuwa ameenda kupray alafu unacheki hapo wanatoka na tears. Kuse tear gas waga ni serious. Hiyo kitu waga inachoma macho, and I can try and imagine just how kids were feeling. So how like some other footage ile pia nilicheki ilikuwa inaonyesha like what was happening from the outside, na still kalikuwa kamenuka kunuka. And I think unacheki magari ya kifahari ile unajuaga of course ni ya politicians. Alafu wacha tucheki. Yeah, so nachiki hapo kuna like tear gas kibao hapo. Alafu pia kulikuwa na other footage that I saw. This one I think was from inside the church. Na pia ndani ya kanisa pia kalikuwa kamenuka. So this shows you man, politics za Kenya hazijui kanisa ni nini. Kakinuka kamenuka, and even the church is not safe. So kulikuwa na hii footage ilikuwa like ile happen like inside kanisa ile, cause what I hear is the tear gas was still thrown in. Like makara wa Kenya atakaki kujua. So jobs alikuwa naimba nini. So this is what happened in the church, and then now afterwards of course na reason nasema tuna rewind ni hii post ya Rigathi Gachagua ili happen usiku. But what had happened during the day is of course after all this happened he ended up doing his speech. And but before we check his speech, let's check if this was also covered on Citizen, because a few people also spoke up. Kulikuwa na Cleophas Malala alibaki amebonga, and tutasikiza the version ya Citizen at least ya the news, and then we'll go to the raw footage of what Gachagua actually said, because it was a very interesting speech, and it's a speech that is both good for Gachagua and somehow still good for Ruto, because Ruto can be like, this is what I was talking about, because Gachagua kuna vitu yose magazine unashinda kwa juu ubuda nafikiria nini. But wacha tucheki vile like Citizen walibaki wameripoti story ya chaos.
Several people were injured in Kariobangi North as rival groups clashed when DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua graced the Thanksgiving service of DCP candidate who won in last week's by-election. Police were forced to fire tear gas canisters to disperse the rival groups. Gachagua has condemned the incident, claiming the government hired goons to disrupt his Kariobangi church event. Stephen Leto has more.
Running battles ensued in Kariobangi North as rival groups clashed, one group donning DCP reflector jackets while the other armed with stones and sticks with police officers in the middle.
Nasataka kujua, if this was happening on the streets, how did this end up inside the church, and why was it necessary to throw tear gas ndani ya kanisa? And I say this as someone who utainipata kwa kanisa, but I still feel like for a lot of people that's a safe haven. Najua that's a place where they feel safe, and Sunday is that one day where they decide, like, you know what, let me go here. Why throw tear gas at them?
Police forced to deploy tear gas to disperse the group. As DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua attended a Thanksgiving service for the DCP candidate David Waroye, who won the Thursday by-election. DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua condemned the incident and blamed it on government.
Ametuma wahuni na polisi ati wapige watu wa Kariobangi North kwa sababu hawakuchagua mtu ya UDA. Hakuna shida.
Gachagua added that DCP supporters will not be deterred from their push to make President Ruto a one-term president.
Siku ukipanga wahuni kupiga viongozi, kupiga wananchi, ndio hii jamii na kuchukia zaidi kuliko vile imekuchukia.
So mmechikia hapo place, nilikuwa nasema it's an interesting speech because mmechikia hapo place ameingiza stories za jamii. So you'll see that every time that Ruto is attacking Gachagua, you semaga that you bring up the tribalists, the politics of tribalism, and sometimes I feel like Gachagua just plays into the whole trap where he ends up saying something that he should just think but not say. Najua, but tuendelee.
Na yule anakushauri amekupoteza.
The melee also disrupted the Thanksgiving church service, with tear gas smoke choking the congregation that had gathered for the Sunday sermon. DCP leaders say they will continue rooting for the party across the country, boasting of the 3-ward by-election wins.
Okay, so hapo nachiki kuna Methu. And yeah, it's interesting. Like I did think these MCA seats are taken that seriously. That's the reason why, of course, we literally have Gloria Oruoba libaki amebonga juu yake, and the way kulikuwa na like 3 contested seats masaiza Kisi ziloli make sure that the candidate that had been endorsed by Matiang'i actually won. So these are things that from the outside looking in, they don't look important until you talk to the people who are actually involved, and you notice that, damn, this is actually more serious than sisi uichukuaga, especially kikam to MCAs and you know.
Hawaongei mambo ya ushindi ya Nairobi, hawaongei mambo ya Narok, hawaongei mambo ya Kisa, wanaongea mambo ya Mbere. Mbere mimi nilienda kusaidia DP.
So history ya Mbere of course imekuwa ni controversial sana. Unachiketa Oruoba, I think hapo walibaki wamekama kuna talking points, because even when we had Oruoba here, that's the first thing that she said, that Mbere did not have a DCP candidate, they were just helping out. Unachiki kuna vile Gachagua amesema the same. Alafu of course every time Gachagua akiongea na bongaga juu jamii this, jamii that, and I think that's the reason why Malala had to say this.
Kariobangi North ni kwa mlima. Hapo Narok Town ni kwa mlima. Kule Kisa East ni kwa mlima. Sasa tungependa kuambia kwamba hii chama sio ya mlima peke yake.
The planned address outside the church could not go on as planned as tension in the area escalated.
So okay, so hiyo ndio kitu ilibaki imehappen maside za Kariobangi, but still I feel like if you are to go to the specific speech ya Gachagua, there's a lot that someone can take from it, and a few of the things that you can take from it is, I don't know what it's going to take for Gachagua kuiangalia from a national perspective. I know that every time I say this kuna soja migina mimi, but every time I turn this into jamii this, jamii that thing, it makes it very tricky. Because even for example, even when he was talking, alienda pa kibonga juu stories za how DCP wamebonga na Wiper, and wacha tusikize like vile DCP wamebonga na Wiper and what's going to happen. Alafu hii speech sasa ukibaki umecheki the speech that now he said in vernacular, ukozile that damn, Ruto is winning somehow.
Mimi niseme watu ya Kariobangi, asanteni sana. DCP is a party for Nairobi, na hii ndio chanzo ya siasa yetu hapa Nairobi, na sisi tumepangana vizuri na kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye ndiye amekuwa akisaidia ODM hapa Nairobi.
So hapa please amesema that wamepangana vizuri na mtu wa Wiper, of course anasema Kalonzo. This is where it gets very tricky. Najua cause I think he's showing that Kalonzo has no backbone. Like, wacha tusikie vile wamepangana. It's interesting.
Tumekubaliana kiti cha gavana kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha seneta kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha women rep kitachukuliwa na DCP. Tumekubaliana na Wiper kati ya viti 17 kati ya DCP na Wiper tutachukua viti 16.
So sikia arrangement where wamesikizana na Wiper. There are out of 17 seats. I think when they are going for by 17 seats on a manisha, when they are running for the constituencies, that only Wiper can only run for one. And this is interesting because I don't want to know which one place is Wiper going to be allowed to run. I won't be surprised if it's Kibra, because where they know like it's a losing battle, they stand very little chance. But yes, so this is where what he talks about. Wiper ikikam to MPs. What about MCAs?
Na kati ya viti 85 ya ward between DCP and Wiper tutachukua 75.
Damn, 75 over 85. Damn, what's left for these Wiper people, man? Like it's what's left for them?
Kwa hivyo msitishwe, msiangaishwe, muvumilie. Utire bulete kagate.
Yeah, so kulikuwa na hii speech. Alafu baadaye nitabaki nimetry kudo like a translation of what the other stuff that he said. But yes, I found this to make Wiper look bad. Najua if Wiper is giving away ama giving up on 16 out of 17 seats and also 75 out of 85 seats in Nairobi, that's, I don't know how that makes Wiper to look so desperate. Like this guy has Wiper by the nuts. And this is one of the speeches that I feel like wase wa UDA watafurahia kusikia na pia wase wa ODM. Because takuwa like, cheki jo, ule msee anadu 1, 2, 3. So that's how they're going to treat it. Because don't forget, politics is about perception. And right now the perception is Kalonzo is super weak. Najua haizi atajitetea, and that's why he's giving up all those seats. So that will be there. Ikonini, nimeinterrupt show kukuremind juu ya LemFi. Kama uko US ama Canada na unataka kutuma do Kenya, register kwa LemFi ukitumia promo code Ikonini. Hii itakuguarantee $20 cashback on your first $100 transaction. Alafu pia time una register, make sure umetick the 2 checkboxes za notifications ndio ukireceive info about amazing offers through newsletters. Na pia usijali, LemFi hawatumagi hizi letters za, yani unajua like messages za kipumbavu. Pia usisahau every time una transact $50 and above una earn points. Na the more una transact, the more points you earn, and you can redeem them as cash ile time unatuma pesa. Alafu pia kitu nanibamba kabisa ni saizi ukitumia LemFi mzabaki umelipa pay bills na till numbers directly. That means mzabaki umehandle bills za maparo wako ukiwa hizo maside za States ama maside za Canada. Alafu pia we mwenyewe as a LemFi user baki umetafuta ile button imeandikwa get USD $20, ubaki umeinvite mabeste zako, na ukiinvite mabeste zako on the first $100 transaction unapata pesa ngapi? $20 cashback. So unangoja nini? Baki umechangamka, ingia LemFi. LemFi, international payments for everyone. Iko nene. But still tukibonga juu ya Gachagua, of course, one of the things that we have to talk about is William Samoei Ruto. And William Samoei Ruto had one of those speeches of his. And as I keep saying, I'm starting to get worried. I'm starting to get worried because do I like the ambition of First World? Yes, I do. What I don't like is the message that I'm getting from all this. Kuna mseni cheki akisema that Kibaki came up with Vision 2030 and it didn't mean that he was going to be president forever. But there's something different with this. How is it different? Kina Cherargei washaongea. Apart from Cherargei kuna Narendra Raval. Alafu apart from that kuna the president talking of I've done this in 2 years. What would I do in 10 years? And what would I do in 20 years? What would you do in 20 years? Okay, wacha tumsikize.
It is possible to move Kenya from a third world country to a first world country before I die. I want to encourage all of us to see the future of our country. I have great confidence in the future of Kenya. I have seen what God can do. 3 years ago, we were struggling with the economy, we were struggling with education. Our health system was not quite together. Our economy was not doing very well. But God has healed our economy. He has changed things for us.
And I think that's the first step to being a first world country. I don't think neza enda US nisikia God has healed our economy. The same way I'm sure I can't go to Germany or Britain or any of those countries nisikia God has healed the economy. The economy is, that belongs to man. Najua, like how is God concerned about money? But okay.
When day before yesterday, when I was launching the biggest road stretch of 175 kilometers that's going to unlock the potential of half of our country, I was very proud that finally God is opening spaces for Kenya.
Damn, okay. One thing, I'm very happy about your road. Of course, your Mau, Rironi, whatever, the road, you're expanding that road, especially to Western Kenya. It's going to open up that side. Kuna places unachekigi, like during this festive period, acheki, kuna time wasotaka kwa barabara sijui for how many hours. So that's going to help. But yeah, I also understand the God card. You have to understand that this is Kenya and this is Africa, and that's what you need to do to get your votes. You need the average voter to know that it's God who's put you there. The voice of the voter is the voice of God, and people take that. So if Ruto can keep using this, that, it's very good for him politically, because there are those people who've made up their minds and they're like, we never go back to this guy. But then there are other people who, jua wakisikia jina God wako like, okay, maybe it's not that bad.
We will be doing another 4 or 5 or 6 of those major infrastructure in the coming year, and many of the other things that we have laid out to do.
So I think hapo pia namaanisha Mombasa, because hii ya Nairobi to Mombasa pia inafaa ku expanded. And itakuwa interesting considering there's also the SGR that's going to be itakuwa ikiextendiwa. So that would be interesting to have the SGR ikifika Nairobi, alafu ikifika up to maybe hiyo ni Malaba, alafu still have hizo dual roads. That would make traveling super interesting, because for someone like me, if you had to ask me, like I'd prefer to travel na train up to Kisumu, alafu the short distance ndio nifanye na gari, because hizo nakuaga hizo maeria za Ujakani ndio nasikia gari waligongana wawili, watu wakafariki mote, gari imejaa abiria. Najua like was so dedigi sana, because especially during the festive period when people are overspeeding and all that nonsense. Of course the SGR won't be done by at a festive period next year, but I'm just saying that those things open the country in a very interesting way, and they make movement easier. So try and imagine there's an SGR ya kubeba watu, and then there's still those dual roads. Interesting. Although the dual roads kuna the whole story ya toll stations, and then people asking kama kuna toll stations and these roads are still being made through hata kama ni PPP, we are still tunafosiwagwa kulipa taxes in one way or another. So what happens? So it's a complicated story, but acha tuendelee na story ya Ruto. Kwa nashindwa why nafikiria history yake ya kushinda akisema first world before I die. Okay,
I am asking you as members of my local church and as Christians to pray for the plans we have for Kenya so that God can make the difference in Kenya.
Yoga, interesting prayer. I'm sorry to ask this philosophical question, but if God knows what's going to happen tomorrow and God has a plan for all of us, then why pray? Does that mean that God can change his mind? And if he can change his mind, does that mean that he's wrong sometimes? He does not know what's good for you. That's why he can change his mind. Philosophy on a Monday morning, not good for you. So, wacha tuendelee.
I am very confident. I have no doubt in my mind that it is possible to move Kenya from a third world country to a first world country before I die.
It's possible to move Kenya from a third world country to a first world country before I die. Because if you're lucky, you have an extra 7 years, if you're lucky. So, we can talk of Vision 2030, but who talks about Vision 2030 after Kibaki? No one, not even Uhuru, who came after Kibaki, talked about Vision 2030. So this means that a president can only handle what can happen within his tenure. So how does this... Alafu, aliendelea na hii story, mpaka kabonga juu ya 90 years old.
It's possible. In the next, by the time I get to 90, Kenya should be a first world country.
Na hiyo inakaa mchezo. Unajua kusema by the time anafika 90, don't forget akina Museveni wanahepisha 90, kuna Bia who was a president at 90. So it's not beyond an African president to be like, you know what, especially if I turn this into a first world country, they should let me run it forever. Why? Because I'm the chosen one.
Yes. And that is just about 30 years from now. It's possible. Others have done it. I am very confident we will do it. Just imagine, you know, this church has moved from a tent to an area in 20-something years, almost 30 years. Who says Kenya cannot move from a third world to a first world in 30 years? We can do it.
Okay, I think I'd say that is false equivalence. Why is it false equivalence? That church has moved from that level to the other level because of free money. Yes, free money from this, free money from that, free money from that. Kenya does not get free money. The only people that get free money in Kenya are politicians. So can a politician move from a house that looks third world to a house that looks first world? Yes. Why? Because politicians make money. The rest of us, it's a whole different sort of equation. So that's what I classify as false equivalence. There is nothing that because this can happen, then this can happen. No. Hizo vitu mbili haziko in the same world data. And still talking of that, of course, Ruto pia alikuwa na bongajia watu kumarika. And before nicheki vile Ruto alikuwa anasema juu watu kumarika, I have to take you back to one thing that I like saying. I like saying that one thing I don't like about Kenyans is the fact that when it's time to look for votes, politicians treat adult Kenyans like kids, especially the so-called Gen Zs. So kuna hii video iko na go around ile kwa mbamba wase sana. And the video was of anaitwa Matiang'i. So Matiang'i shows up there, amevaa sneakers zake, alafu at some point Rachiki anatry kudance. So there these so-called young dudes, and these are the things that jazz them. So you see when he calls them, wanatoka hapo wamebambika kabisa. Don't forget these are adults. These are people who are over 18 and they decide that being treated like kids, because this is the thing I'll do with my kid. Najua mtu yangu iko 10 years old, akiniona jo papa una dance, waga ina mbamba sana, oh papa una dance, because ni mtoi. But as an adult, if this impresses you, then after hiyo he takes selfies with them and they'll go home and they're happy kabisa, wako Matiang'i the 6th. but they've just been treated like kids, acheki. And the word youth lies to Kenyans, because you'll even find someone, tend to me term, as old as Ian, Raiko 34, because ajafikisha 35 wako like I'm a youth, and then this nonsense happens. What they forget is the Sakajas of this world. I think by the time he was 27, he was doing what? He was the head of TNA, ama ilikuwa ni Jubilee, I don't know, one of those, I think ni TNA, but you are here dancing. So kulikuwa na hiyo, but now unashindwa kwa nini nimebring up history ya Matiang'i kudance. It's because of Ruto on the other side alikuwa amebonga juu ya watu kumarika. And what age was Ruto talking about? The same age that he's judged by dancing. So wacha tusikize Ruto, alafu one vile these Kenyan politicians are very good at what they do. They'll treat you like a kid, but they know the times where they should classify you as an adult.
The foundation of a nation is the firm foundation of a family. A nation is as strong as the families we put together. And therefore, as parents, we must do whatever it takes, encourage our children, as I do here, all the men in this room, those of you who are above the age of 25, get married. Get married. Wacha kuzunguka hapa. Unatoka kwa klabu hii, unaingia klabu hii, unatoka kwa klabu hii, unaenda hiyo ingine. This moment is a very proud moment.
So, natikio that kama uko over 25, get married. But I think what the president ignores is getting married if you are poor is not a good idea, because most probably you'll want to start a family. So of course, can you do it? Yes, you can do it. But at 25, I still feel like you're young. Focus on kutafuta dough. I think one of the funniest things konasikiaga Kibe akisema kwa the Andrew Kibe show back in the days, ilikuwa niyo kulikuwa na part moja tu, buda umestate na umesota acha ujinga. And that's what I can say. Tafuta dough. At 25, they should not be that rush ya get married. Yes, if you want to get married, do, and if you feel like you're ready to get married, do, but it's too early. I don't know why the president is pushing that narrative. I think he ended up comparing his situation with the situation Kenyans, but don't forget him, kulikuwa na Youth for KANU 92, and they made a lot of money. So him in his 20s, he was not busy dancing like a clown ama waiting for some politician ati moja kuje aweke some Gen Z music for ya 1992 alafu cheki Ruto akiwa pale. Ruto knew that he was an adult, but wacha tusikize.
I know how Tessie and Musalia feel, and Mr. and Mrs. Saya feel, because as parents, when you bring up children, you pray for them, you take them to school, and one day you want them to have a family like the way we do.
So another thing, watu walibaki wamepoint out that Charlene yuko 32, she's not married, but apart from that, also Musalia is a billionaire. So of course Musalia's kid can get married at whatever age they want to get married at. The rest of us don't have that privilege. Najua it's a whole other equation if you don't have the financial backing and you don't have the financial muscle to get married. So okay.
And therefore I want to congratulate Gillian and Moses. Thank you very much for calling all of us so that we can celebrate your union when you become man and wife and find a family. We celebrate you. And I say this proudly, that if you are a man, be man enough to marry the woman you love. Yeah? Yes. Because we have so many people who run away from responsibility. You know, they want to hang around or I like being single. Oh. But the point is, they are not courageous. They are not men enough to carry your woman home and tell them, be my wife. I want to encourage.
Damn, and it's also considering the amount of problems that Kenya has. Nikisikiza hii speech ya Ruto nashinda like, is this what we should be hearing our president talk about? I feel like there's more pressing issues than this getting love advice from the president. But maybe I'm wrong. Najua maybe there's someone who needed to hear this. Kuna raya fulani ilikuwa ina play dem, alafu sasa ikasikia rais yako like acha ku play dem, get married. Yura yako like iko nene, acha sasa ni get married. Ama maybe kuna dem alisikia hii speech alafu ataenda kuambia raya, unasikia hata rais alisema tunafaa kuoana. I don't know. I feel like this is not the speech I expect from a president from a third world country, especially if that president is trying to turn that third world into a first world.
I want to encourage the men in this room, not so much the women, the men in this room, be men enough and marry the woman you love, find a family, be responsible. Yes.
Damn, okay. I don't think, but kuna hiyo part, I don't think it's on this video. He talked about the fact he was maybe 27 and she was 25 when he married her, something like that. And he had a lot of financial muscle and he could do that. I think people should just get married when they feel they're ready. If you're ready at 50, get married at 50. If you're ready at 60, get married at 60. If you don't want to get married, also don't get married. Najua. But I think marriage has changed a lot because back in the days, people knew marriage was very contractual and it was very business driven. Then ikakuja history ingine ile tukabaki tumeingiza mapenzi mengi sana kwa marriage. So of course marriage ikaanza kuwa sasa yezi last cause a little thing happens, inakuwa ni divorce, then ikifikuwa ni divorce, then people start fighting for property and there's all that nonsense that comes with it. So yeah, let people get married at whatever age they want to get married. But if the president feels like that's the issue to address, achabaki ameaddress. Mimi from my side naweza kuambia ni if you're in your 20s, if you don't feel like you're financially stable, don't do it. If you want to do it na dem and understand that mnaweza grow pamoja, sawa. And you yourself will also have to be ready to get married. Usikue chali una get married na hauko ready, then the minute umepata do, now you feel like the woman you've married is not beautiful enough. Najua there's that. Ama usikue we ni dem, get married early, then you start telling yourself time go kwa marriage, I skipped my hoe phase, it's time for me to be a hoe. Hakuna mtu anaheshimu hoe. Hiyo ni Hollywood imekudanganya. Oh damn, you can't write Hollywood without hoe. Okay, hiyo ni Hollywood imekudanganya. Mza iza huku nje dem akitoa hiyo nonsense ya I had a hoe phase, angalia kwenda huko. Kuna kitu yote hapo kama nini. So I don't know man. So that was the president and yeah, stories za Gachagua. So niambieni Gachagua, what do you think? Mnafikiria nini juu ya hiyo speech ya Gachagua? Because I'm planning to do like my own very weak translation of what he was saying, because a lot of that speech was in vernacular, and then mtabaki meni grade on over 10, from 1/10 to 10/10. Taniambia kunaendaje. But yeah, good morning. Twende tafute pesa tulipe ushuru. Iko nene.